Hello, students. This is Mrs. Silves. Welcome back to Social Studies. We hope you are enjoying the learning about Europe in the Middle Ages. This week, we are going to learn about life in the cities, specifically the Church of the Middle Ages. Last week, I hope you enjoyed learning about feudalism, the nobles, the serfs, and life on the manor. In the next 2 weeks, we are going to learn about the rise of cities. Again, this week we will be learning about the church in the Middle Ages. Next week, we're going to dive into what are cities like in the Middle Ages. Now, remember, we really need you to take some really good notes. Here is my note page again in that handy dandy notebook that I keep keeping with me, and I keep adding to my notes for each lesson and for each video. This week, I would really like your notes to include the definition of clergy and what was excommunicate? What happened when that happened? We also want you to think about 2 questions as we teach this lesson today. What made the church so powerful in the Middle Ages? And 2, why was the church so important to the people during the Middle Ages? Now, these notes are going to help you on assignments, on quizzes, and yes, we're going to have some assessments. So you will need to make sure that you keep them and don't throw them away so that you can use them on those assignments. Especially Mr. Byers is going to have you use them for writing, and Mrs. Burkett is going to have you use them for writing as well. This week, we are only going to have 2 social studies assignments. So you need to make sure that you read those directions very carefully. And this week we are going to have a worksheet attached that you are going to need to turn in so that your teachers can grade it and give you feedback to make sure that we are keeping you on track with the correct learning about the Middle Ages. In science, for my class, you're also going to have 2 assignments. Mr. Mills is going to be teaching those assignments. So make sure, and he's going to present them on a video for you. So make sure you pay attention this week to Mr. Mills in science. Again, we hope you enjoy this learning as we bring it to you online. So we are going to start off by me reading the book. I'm going to put the book pages online for you right here on the video. If you would like to afterwards look at the textbooks, I have added those pages as an attachment, as a document that you can actually go back to and use for your future knowledge. So here we go about reading life in the Middle Ages. We are talking about our new section, the rise of cities. Let's see if I can make that a little bigger. The rise of cities. And as you read, we'll notice that there's some vocabulary words at the top and some questions to think about. If you wanted to keep adding to your notes, you're more than happy to do that. I am going to let you know I'm going to read from the book that's sitting next to me. Make sure you follow along so that and take notes when you can. So here we go. Rise of cities, life in the Middle Ages. City buildings tell a lot about the city's people, what the city's people value and believe in. In modern times, for example, skyscrapers make a statement about the importance of big business in today's society. Medieval cities also had buildings that soared above the rest. These buildings, however, had nothing to do with business like we see today. The grandest building in any medieval city was almost always a cathedral, which is an especially large church. It made a statement about the importance of religion. The word religion in Europe during the Middle Ages usually referred to the largest, most powerful religious organization at that time, the Roman Catholic Church. It had so much more influence than other religions that it was usually simply called the church. The church in the Middle Ages. Why was the church so powerful during the Middle Ages? Well, life was short and hard for many people. They were comforted by the Roman Catholic belief that they could enjoy the rewards of heaven after death if they lived good lives. The clergy, or the men who performed the services of the church, helped people follow church rules about how to live. The clergy performed marriages and funerals. They believed the sick, turn the page, and the dying. The clergy also listened when believers came to confess their wrongdoings at the church. In the name of God, the clergy then forgave the believers for their wrongdoings, to which they had confessed. The church in everyday life. The church was also powerful because it took on many of the jobs government does today. In the United States, leaders have always been careful to keep government and religious organizations separate. For example, the government is not allowed to adopt a national religion or to support the activities of any religion, nor are religious organizations allowed to run the government. In the Middle Ages, the church made the laws and set up courts to enforce them. It gained great wealth by collecting taxes. It also took fiefs from the Lord in exchange for services performed by the clergy. These church lands were farmed by men and women who dedicated their lives to serving the church. These men were called monks, and the women that served the church were called nuns. These monks and nuns developed better ways of growing crops and tending livestock. In this way, the church helped to improve the economy during the Middle Ages, which was an economy based on farming. The church also was a peacekeeper. The high church officials also exercised great political power as advisors to kings. The church helped limit warfare among feudal lords. When a lord rebelled, the church could then threaten to excommunicate him or prevent him from taking part in church life. A lord seldom ignored this threat because if he were excommunicated, no one would associate with him. So that is the end of our learning for today. We want to make sure that you, again, are taking good notes. Take a little bit of time today to write down some notes and to do the worksheet that is attached to this assignment. And then our next lesson in social studies, number 2, is actually the video on the monks. Again, take good notes. This is really going to help you, especially on that writing assignment that's coming up. We want you to take notes about the role of the monk from the video. We want you to take notes about the monk's duties and responsibilities. There should be a whole bunch of them that you could list out there. Then again, we also want you to start gaining interesting facts about people in the Middle Ages. So this is in the 3rd section that I'd like you to take some notes on. We really appreciate you joining us today in learning about life in the Middle Ages. We want you to continue to do your best work as you learn. If you are in any way needing help, please send us students a chat. We would be glad to help you and answer questions or make sure that you're not confused on how to do the assignments. We really, really appreciate you guys diving into this learning. Keep doing great work. We love to hear from you. Take care, and we'll see you next week.